and Chevy. That's it. I believe we've got this thing going first try this week. It only took us 28 episodes to do it.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. We got it. We're live
we got
on
this.
YouTube.
Yeah, we're on.
We got this.
First try.
And we got already some friends joining us. We got Rob Evans. Welcome to the show, Jamin. We got the Rubio Method and Daryl McAvina. We are live. It is The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Performance Freight Management is our sponsor. We Drone. Sheldon, we're live and on time. We got 11 minutes to spare from our usual. Look at that in the little Chevy and the Nasty. I like what you did there.
There you go.
We're working. Are we live on Facebook? Should I take
No, we're not. I can only get one right at a time, right? And to do, I'd have to step out of the schedule and do that, or step up. Should we do it though?
No, you know what, Sheldon? If you were in the Major League Baseball batting 500, you'd be a Hall of Famer.
That's it.
You're a Hall of Famer.
That's it.
Let's just roll. You know what? Rubio says Nasty looks dapper tonight with that shirt. He sure does. He's got the Chevy and Nasty shirt, courtesy of our man Rubio. And I'm actually wearing the Homer Simpson I've got Dad Skills t-shirt in honor of Father's Day that's upcoming for all you dads out there. Happy Father's Day. If you're a dad and the big day is coming up. I know that all our dads out there want to be the best version of themselves if they can, and that's all we strive for, to just do our best, right? And that's coming up. So much coming up to talk about, Sheldon. But I'm going to take it back to last week when I cursed the Oilers.
Yeah, the Oilers. Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I by texting you on Tuesday night throughout the game, and then they lost, and you blamed me for texting you. So I didn't text you on Saturday for game one. It was a big deal. Like, I think there was a lot of excitement. I was in Red Deer, and all of Red Deer is Oilers fans. It seems you'd think it'd be half because Red Deer, for those of you who don't know, my man Rubio, Red Deer is halfway between Calgary and Edmonton. So you got half the people that should be Stamps fans, half the fans should be Elks fans, and in hockey, half should be Flames and Oilers. But it appeared that everyone was Oilers fans, ready to go for the game. There was a lot of excitement, and I promised myself I wouldn't text you. So I'm watching the game. I'm going to Brittany's house, and she had a couple friends over, and they're all wearing Oilers jerseys. Now I don't have an Oilers jersey. I have a T-shirt, but I forgot at home. But I had a red T-shirt, and I figured, well, I'll wear red. It's red and blue. It's kind of orange. I was cheering for the Oilers. What I didn't realize is my shirt was Venice Beach, Florida. It's a shirt that my man Tony Fasano gave me, and I took it off promptly, but I think the damage was already done.
Well, so, obviously, I mean, that's kind of a double whammy, though, because first off, red is not orange, right? It's like saying green's blue, right? And Florida definitely is red, right? Yeah. They got red in there. So I think that was kind of like, did you really think, okay, I'm going to wear red to represent the Oilers, or was it like?
Yeah, no, it was an absolute miscue. I didn't even think about Florida red. I was just thinking, well, I could wear a black T-shirt, but I want to feel like part of the party. I was going to be the meme. If someone took a picture of the one guy that didn't get the memo, was me in the room. There's four of us, and I was wearing the red and blue, and everyone else was orange and blue. But it wasn't until I read that I realized
that it's an actual, it says a Florida.
Yes, Florida. I jinxed it. I actually ruined.
That was
game one.
Game one was on you, and that was a big one to jinx too, because the Oilers came out and they're outstanding. Like, from my perspective, we lost, right? Couldn't solve Bob. But the Oilers were on fire. I loved every part of their game except for, we turned the puck over, right? And that's sort of been the story. So far, we've been able to outscore ourselves out of those kind of games. Saturday night, you know what? It was Bob's night. It was the Panthers' night. We threw everything at them, and they escaped with a win.
Oh man,
right?
And the Oilers, you're right. They played so well. They played so well. I couldn't believe how well they played. I thought they were going to take it. I really did think they were going to take it. But Bob, you're right. Bob was the man. But then that brings us to Monday, right? And so I try to change everything on Monday. It's one of those things too. I had so here's a real estate photographer. You're out there. You have scheduled media shoots and all these things. A new client, real nice young realtor guy. I'm trying to help out. Hey, Sheldon, can you book me on Sunday?
I'm like, yeah, I'll book you on Sunday. It's before the Lions game, so I get all my gear set up. Everything's charged. I'm working on a Sunday afternoon. It's in my neighborhood. It'll take me an hour and a half. Get there. The tenants miscommunication. Nobody's there. I just kind of wasted my Sunday afternoon. He texted me back later that night saying, "Hey, we got it set up. It's set up for Monday night at 8:00." And I'm like, oh. Do I do it? Do I do it? You know what? I think I will. I'm going to take all the pressure off this week. I'm not even going to tell Chevy not to text me. I'm just going to treat it like a normal day. I'll pause the game. No, I'll pause the game. And if we win, I'm going to go back and watch it. If we're losing worse, you know what? Forget it. Well, I come home and it was tied 1-1. I think we're just going into the second intermission. I came home like halfway through the third and we're down 2-1. Then we get a penalty, but we go 4-on-4. No, or was that early inning? I don't know. Anyway, we had our chance. We were 5-on-3 at one point. We were 6-on-3, I believe, at one point, or 6-on-4. We still couldn't do it. It was not our night. We looked horrible. No. We were flat-footed. We were dead. Nothing was really going our way. We couldn't generate opportunities, but we still turned it over, and two of them found the back of the net, and then it just got worse from there. I got to say, Monday night, I was actually walked away from that game demoralized. Like, I'm not wearing my Oilers jersey tonight. I've got to find something different to do because I can't just stew on it here for the next 3 days. But after Monday night, doesn't it feel almost like, oh, it's pointless? What can we do? They've got a bob. Even if we play good, they've got a bob.
Well, let's take it back to the Dallas series. Remember the Dallas series? We had the Tuesday night show, and you're like, Chev, they're done. It's over. You remember that? Yeah. You said the Oilers were done. They found life. They found life. They came back. They squeezed it. I think I was actually out last night too. I had the Mavericks football banquet, so I missed most of it. But same thing. I was paying attention. It was 1-1 for a lot of it. But then it seemed like the wheels came off. It seemed like the Oilers got off their game. Like if they would have just continued playing the way they were playing on Monday, I think we would have seen a different result. But they got into the chippy stuff. You know, there was some questionable hits. Draisaitl on Barkov had people clamoring for suspension. I didn't think that one was so bad. Barkov might be out, which, I mean, he's like one of their best players, their best defensive player. He might be out. So, but the hit, the Fogle hit, that was a pretty bad one too. So I don't know. They got chippy slashes, and you know what? They were playing Florida's game.
They were playing Florida's game.
Yeah. And when you play Florida's game, Florida wins. Yeah. Especially with their goalie. Like they were focusing more on the chippy stuff than putting pucks on net, which is what they didn't do well. Like game one, they did well. They played opposite of what they did against Dallas. Yesterday, they went back to how they played the last couple of games in Dallas with minimal shots on net, except now you're playing against one of the greatest goaltenders in the world, and you're not going to win. You're not going to win if you're not putting quality shots on net. Let me read some of the comments here.
Well, first, get to Jameis first. I want to get to Jameis first. McDavid's Band-Aid has cursed the Oilers. Did you see that Band-Aid that he was wearing for the
chin Band-Aid?
Yeah, dude, it's like he forgot it was on. Like you can't put a Band-Aid on a beard to stop it from bleeding.
Who puts a Band-Aid on a beard?
Like, yeah, like it's. I wonder if that guy that jumped him in the beer store in Edmonton after they clinched it with the Stars, if that got in his head.
Yeah, I don't know.
To go out there and leave a Band-Aid on, it just looked horrible. Jamie, you might have something there.
Can't you use some
because McDavid, when McDavid has a puck. What's that?
I said use some skin glue.
Well, I don't even know how you get that through that beard, but you know that's the thing. When McDavid touches the puck, he puts the fear of God into every player on the ice. But you can't take a guy seriously when he looks less than mortal. You know, So maybe
if he's Jesus didn't have a Band-Aid on when he had like holes in his wrists and holes in his feet. Like he went up there and he took it. You know, he just it was exposed. Another Jamin comment. He's loving the Super Marios. That's my production assistant, my son Kyle, who's playing Mario Brothers. He dusted off the old Nintendo. He took it completely apart tonight. He did the old blow on the. Anybody remember that from the old Nintendo days? Blowing on the cartridges. We're having a hard time getting it fired up. He took the whole Nintendo apart today, cleaned it all out on his own, and then put it back together, and he's hitting the Mario. I think it's Mario 3, Kyle. Mario 3. Yeah, he's inspired. My sister is a master at this game. And the last 3 years we go back to Montreal and we'd pull it out and she would just show him all the tricks. So pulled it out today. He took it apart, completely apart, cleaned it all up, and now he's playing. I figured, yeah, you know what? I had the fail army. I said, Kyle, why don't you play some Mario in the background, get the people interested in the levels. Rubio says, why doesn't Nasty block Chevy's number during the game? You know, Rubio, he can't block my number. We're a duo. You don't listen. Batman does not block Robin's number. Bonnie didn't block Clyde's number. Han Solo wouldn't block Chewbacca's number. Ooh, come on, Rubio. You don't block my number. I get it. I don't call him during the game. And that leads to something else Sheldon wanted to talk about. Should we talk about it now or later?
What's that?
Well, do you call? Do you text before you call someone, or you just go ahead?
Oh, God. Yeah, and this is something. I think I was watching some late night show, and they brought it up. And it's apparently there's an article that came out in the Wall Street Journal last week about phone etiquette and how much is changed. Now, since we're dialed in 24/7, that a significant portion of the population is actually offended when you call first. No lead up to it, no text. Hey, are you free? Hey, do you got a minute? I want to chat to you about this. So people are just calling, and I get it. Like, I'm an old school guy. I like, coming home at the end of the day, and my entertainment was getting on the phone with friends, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, as busy as we are in this society, with Rubio running Rubio football camps and doing his podcast and his shows and taking care of issues with the different companies and staff and solving the world's problems, sometimes when you get a call out of the blue, like for me anyway, I get panicked. Like, holy cow, why are they calling me? I sent them their package 2 days ago. There should be no reason for them calling me now. Is there a problem? Are they trying to rebook me? Oh my God, Chevy called. Is something wrong? Is there an issue with things? Do you just want to chat, or does something come up that I have to deal with right now? Because I can't deal with it right now. And so for me personally, I really enjoy the etiquette of hey bud, you got 5 minutes? Want to chat to you about this. So then it gives me a chance to kind of reset my brain. Okay, think about it for a second and either ignore the text, respond to it as yeah, sure, I got time, or hey, I'll call you in a couple of hours, right? But I don't like the pressure of a phone call because me with my job all day long, my phone's hooked up to my drones, my video cameras of all different sorts. I'm on Jaws with my clients, and I hate getting just random phone calls.
But
am I screwed now? I don't
know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because for me, I like giving a phone call. I'm not if I could take a random phone call, I'll take it. And some of my best calls have come when I didn't expect a phone call, when I actually had like 10 minutes in between. And some people that I've wanted to speak to forever, I just don't have the time. And all of a sudden someone catches me like between meetings or whatever. And it's like the greatest conversation. But if I can't take the call, I don't feel any anxiety about it. Like I'll answer if I can. I don't answer if I can't. My rule with you, I give you the 15 minutes now. I call you when I leave in the car, and it used to be 10 for you, but I graduated to 15 because I know you're pretty busy and you don't work regular hours. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're not. So like the other day, you know what? The other day I was a little disappointed because I prefaced it the night before. Like, we spoke the night before, and I said I would call you on my drive. You're like 8 o'clock. Call me at 8. I'm like, no, let's do 8:30. You're like, yeah, you know what? 8:30 sounds good. What are we talking about? I said, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I got in the car, 8:30. I called you, and then I waited. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give him 15 minutes. I was going to give you 10 before I call my mom. And I was like, no, I'll give him 15 minutes because he said, maybe he's taking his time. Maybe he's still showering, brushing his teeth, which I don't even know if you're allowed to brush your teeth in Calgary. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that.
But yeah, man, 15 minutes passed. I'm like, geez, like, okay, I guess I'm not speaking to Sheldon. So I called my mom, drove home, did my thing. And it was like 11:15. And then you called me back. And then I felt like it put a reset on the phone call because now it was not the 8:30 window that we planned. This was a different window. And I got in from Red Deer. I had a lunch meeting. I had a lunch meeting at 11:30. You called me at 11. And just as I walked into my house, after my drive home from Red Deer, away for a week, I didn't even put my bags down. My neighbor rings my doorbell, and she asked if I could boost her car. I'm like, oh, man, I got to get to a lunchtime meeting. Then you called, and Daryl called. I was like, man, I don't have time. I wish I could speak, but you really missed your window. And I feel like I did a good job of preparing you for my call the next morning. Like I literally called.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to correct you on a couple of things. You're like, we're chatting Sunday night. Hey, let's call tomorrow morning. I'm like, Chev, I got packages going out tomorrow morning. Yeah. Well, we'll make it 8:30. Yeah, okay, sure, 8:30. What do you want to talk about anyway, Chev? Talk about the show. We just talked about the show. He goes, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And so I figured it wasn't like that crucial. And at that time, I was playing phone tag with a guy in Montreal trying to set up a shoot for next week. So I had sometimes you're working, right? And that's why I like the text. I could have called you back earlier. Chevy, maybe I should have called you back sooner.
Yeah, maybe you should
you back.
Maybe
truth be told, what happened? I got busy, distracted, and I forgot. And I didn't get back to you until I remembered.
Well, you know what we almost forgot about, and we shouldn't, because I don't know. I don't even know what time it is. It's it's 11:15, and we haven't even got to the poem. So we can't forget about that, because we got tons to talk about today. But I think we should get right into the poem. Are you ready? Did you pull it up?
Yeah, I got it. We're good.
One day we're gonna have that.
Oh, actually, we're not good yet.
No, we're not good. Okay, let's pull up the poem in a second. But are we also done with the Oilers talk? Or do we?
Yeah, Oilers are done. It's over. Playoffs are over.
Come on.
You know what? It's going to be 32 years.
Listen, Sheldon, there's no rats in Alberta. There's no rats in Alberta. You know, and all the rats are in Florida, and there's no rats in Alberta. So maybe they have a chance. But let's get to the poem. We can wrap up the Oilers talk and get on to the rest of the show.
Let's do it.
It's that time of the week. It's a Tuesday night affair. You can look into our eyes, but it's not polite to stare.
After week 1 of play, there was a lot of big play action, but we need another week to see just what type of traction.
The CFL QBs established as they all play to impress, with Dukes, Mayer, Fajardo, and Harris leading all the rest.
The Rats flew hard as Florida picked up a 2-game lead. Now the Oilers return to Edmonton, hoping to tourniquet that bleed.
I think they can.
It's over.
This week, a pipe burst in Calgary, an event our entire city had to weather. We are Chevy and nasty, but we didn't have to shower together.
We're 300-pound poets, and it's time for talk. Our takes are outrageous, and sometimes they shock.
Not
shock. Not
well, they
suck.
Well, sometimes they suck. They suck too. Well,
oh God, okay. We'll get in that for we're.
So we're going to talk CFL. We know we're going to talk CFL.
Well, let's talk about that water. Go ahead.
I was going to say the rat. Let's put it because some people don't know about the whole rat thing in Florida. They throw the rats on the ice after the game. I think it goes back to 1995 when Florida had a Cinderella playoff run. I believe Scott Mellenby was playing there, John Van Breesbrook, and they played in the old Miami arena. And I believe the arena was famous for rats. And what had happened, I don't know if it was in the playoffs or as they were making the run to get into the playoffs, which was, for a new expansion team, everyone's like, wow, this is awesome. Kind of like the Vegas Golden Knights a few years ago. There was a lot of a wave of momentum. Well, what happened was pre-game, Mellenby sees a rat and he kind of hits it with his stick. That's and right. slaps it across the wall, kills the rat, and he goes out and scores 2 goals. And I guess after that, the story be told. John Van Breesbrook, I guess he reported what had happened. And the rat thing became the tradition. I think it's an amazing tradition. Those days, it was like they littered they were so excited in Florida for every goal they scored. Fans threw rats on rats on rats. They had like a staff of about 25 to 30 people that had to clean up the ice after every goal. And that's when the NFL introduced the rule that if fans throw something on the ice during the regular time of play, the home team would get penalized.
Yeah.
And that's where that came in. And, you see in Detroit, people throwing the octopus. Any other traditions in sport that you know of that people, I know Detroit, the octopus.
Nashville, they started throwing catfish. Because I don't even know if catfish is is a Nashville thing. But they they needed something to throw, so they threw a catfish, and that was a thing for a while.
Yeah, and then obviously when someone gets a hat trick, they throw the hats and stuff. But it is cool that Florida gets to carry on that tradition. What they do is they wait till the end of the game, and if Florida wins, they throw a bunch of rats on the ice. But like we said, no rats in Alberta. If Edmonton can refocus, like their big stars have to refocus. They've got to get Connor firing on the net. Bouchard has to have a bounce back game. He's a great player. He's been solid for Edmonton. You know, that point shot that you can't match. But
you know, and here's what I'm seeing, because I think you nailed it when you said they got into playing Florida's game. Because what you're not seeing is Draisaitl winding up in the slot for that one timer, right? You haven't seen that once. The slap shot from the D was somebody in front of the net. Like, we're getting some shots on, but we don't have Hyman in there tipping or and maybe it's just puck luck, right? Sometimes it's the gods just drop the puck right on your stick, right on the tape. But I haven't seen any of those opportunities of deflected shots, and the garbage goals just from grinding it. I don't know why it is. Yeah, Florida's plays some tight D. Their sticks are everywhere at once. They're always in position, but I feel like we've gotten away from that. So maybe there is hope. Hope.
And you know what? To put a pin on this, obviously, I'm going for the Oilers. I said it. I'm going for the Oilers. I made a mistake. I wore a red Florida shirt on Saturday. I will promise to wear an Edmonton shirt. Is it tomorrow night, the next game? Tomorrow or on Thursday? Whatever it is, the next game, I'm wearing my Oilers shirt. But to put a pin in this, what could have been the worst trade in Flames history might now go down as the best trade in Flames history, as Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett wind up being the stars for Florida that could end Edmonton Stanley Cup hopes. And there's a lot of Flames fans. They're excited about two things. They're excited about Oilers losing, and for some reason, they're excited about the draft coming up and the possibility of getting Taj again. But we can talk about that later. Let's talk about that later.
Are you sure you want to wait on that one?
Yeah, because you know what? The draft is not coming up yet. There's so much going on. There's the water main break, water feeder line break. There's CFL action. Where do you want to hit next? You want to hit the pipe?
Yeah, let's talk about that pipe. So Chris Evans is saying he feels responsible for it. Rob Evans. I'm almost scared to ask what he did or what he's referring to on that pipe break. But you were there. You saw it on day one as it was developing, didn't you?
Yeah. So last Wednesday, I'm driving down. I got to take Kyle to lacrosse practice, and Shouldice Shouldice Arena is right by the Shouldice football fields, which is right in the heart of Bowness on 16th Ave and Home Road, which is where that water feeder line broke. And you know, for people that are listening in from outside of Calgary, this line that broke wasn't just like a water main that's like the size of a pizza. You could drive a pickup truck through this feeder pipe, and it broke. And we were driving down, and I was wondering why there was so much traffic, because Home Road is kind of a high elevation, and then you come down and you dip into Bowness, and there was a ton of traffic. And then I saw a couple of my fire buddies on the side of the road controlling traffic. I see a fire engine. I saw the aerial up ahead, and I was like, what is going on? And then as we got closer, I saw more and more water. And Kyle, my son Kyle, pulls out the phone, and I said, Kyle, start recording. And there was like knee-deep water, and that was about 7 p.m. 7 p.m., knee-deep water from Home Road, 16th Ave, all the way down to the arena, all the way covering the fields. The fields look like swampland, which normally they have great irrigation for the water. It was a mess, and that was going on through the night into the next day. And lo and behold, we had a serious water feeder line break. And I'm just looking at some of the comments from Rob Evans. And what was he saying?
He dispatched 15 engines to the original
15 engines. So Fire Hall 15 is in Bowness. And so 15 engine was one of the engines out there. But then I think they brought the aerial down from 17, which is in University District. And it was a mess. And it was a mess for a few days. We have water restrictions in Calgary, no outdoor, phase 4 water restrictions, which happen a lot of times in the drought conditions. But we were at risk of running out of water, and people don't see that ever in a big city. I don't think people could fathom that until the city really, I think at first they were like, oh boy, how do we approach this? Do we show them? Only until they started showing the images on social media of just how serious this was and how big this pipe was, that I think people start to realize, oh man, wait a second, this line feeds 1.2 million people their water, and the risk with that,
more than that, it goes out to Strathmore, it goes out to Airdrie. We're probably at 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And that's what got it for me, because to me, one of the things that was remarkable is there's more compliance on this than there was for COVID or any other thing, right? And it's because I think people are so conditioned. Oh, here's an emergency. Here's a disaster. Everything's a disaster. But when you saw that amount of water and they talked about, this is what we use per day, this is what we can afford to use now. If you use 1 liter more, you're going to turn on your tap and there's going to be no water. That's scary. Like that is scary. In a city this size, to turn on a tap and not have water, right? There's a couple communities that didn't have water for days. And then there was boil water advisories or whatever, right? But that's scary. That feels real.
That was real. And again, the images that we saw on social media on some of the accounts out there just showing the aerial views, the drone footage of the immense, for me too, like I thought, wow, this is a lot of water driving through it. But I've driven through, water. I've seen the floods in 2013 in Calgary. But until you see that's the pipe that's supply, and it was huge. That's when it really got me. I was in Red Deer for the weekend, so I was safe. I was able to shower and stuff, but some of the restrictions they were asking people to do were reasonable. Use a little less water. Don't flush every pee. When you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off as you're brushing. Take a quick shower. I always take a quick shower. So, I had to tell my kids, hey guys, take a quicker shower. But don't water your lawns. I did find it surprising that some of the businesses like gas stations, their car washes were still working. It's like
not most of them, but some of them were still running. I think some places might have a different water solution. Like, is it all based on city water? I guess maybe it kind of is. I know some parts of town they use water that was tanked in for their car washes. But and the risk with any of this was if there's an emergency. Yeah. And like they had an adequate amount or close to an adequate amount that they could equal or match, what the city used in terms of consumption. But the risk was, and the risk still is not was, we're living through it. The risk is if there's an emergency, if there's 2 or 3 fires. So accompanied with the water ban is that fire ban to ensure that people aren't doing anything that puts us at and not just that. That's the industrial too. Like even like asphalt machines or paving roofs or anything that has a fire on bitumen to melt it for roofing. It's put a lot of projects on halt because if you get a 1 million square foot warehouse or construction project on fire, that's going to use a lot of water. But in the meantime, I'm doing my part. But here's my fear: is if we don't resolve this soon, how many times can you turn your underwear inside out, Chev?
I don't know.
Like, can you go back to 3 times? Is it just once? Is it twice? Because it's getting pretty desperate around here. Because we are, to the best that we can, rule followers. I'm sure we could have used even less water, but it's surprising how little water this house has used. Yeah, now, have you seen anybody out there kind of exploiting it? And are you the kind of guy, if you saw somebody out there watering his lawn or watering down the sand as he's putting down paving stones, would that piss you off? Would that bother you? Would that?
No, I mean, I think for the most part, the city's doing. The people of the city are complying. And you mentioned that people are rule followers. I thought it was going to be the opposite. Actually, I thought it was going to be like, oh, here we go again. They're telling us to do something. I think it was the visuals that they provided in day 2 and 3, and maybe not day 1, but day 2 and 3 that really got people thinking like, oh crap, this is a big deal. But like I said, I was in Red Deer this weekend. I was in Red Deer Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. So, I went to the pool in Red Deer. They got their water from a different source. Today back home, little different story. I went to work today. We have a gym at work. I was like, no, I'm not going to work out at the headquarters because I'm not going to shower. So I made some conscious choices. And even here, like I said, at the house with the boys, if they don't have to shower, they're not taking a shower. But yeah, no, it's a big impact event. I've been through a few big impact events in my lifetime. It was a big ice storm in Montreal, the floods in Calgary. Anything you've been through that you can recall? Well, like first obviously off, COVID. But
first off, that ice storm in Montreal is what we in Saskatchewan called January. But yeah, I've been through a few floods and tornadoes. Like I went to school in Ames, Iowa. That's where they shot the movie Twister there.
Oh, wow.
So you're used to, and Iowa got decimated earlier this spring. But we had some floods down there. So yeah, I think everybody's gone through the floods. In northern Saskatchewan, prairie fires, you get the odd fire that got away from the farmers, and it wasn't a big global national thing, but there was that. But it's still hard to put this one in the same conversation as 9/11. Right?
No,
where you felt like the world changed. I would put this on par. I would put this even stronger for me than for me personally than the 2011 floods. Like the 2011 floods were awful, but they didn't affect me because where I live, I'm on high ground. And there's certain routes you couldn't take and all that. But I went to work every day. It didn't change anything that I did other than, oh my God, this is happening. The same as like the wildfires, right? But those on a scale are far more devastating than what we've experienced. This is the first time where I can kind of, I won't say I relate to the guys that have been, removed from their houses, evacuated from their houses. But that was a real thing to like, I cannot, if I turn this tap and water doesn't come out, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I'd get out of town, which I am doing, but we'll talk about that later.
And I think this one was one because it wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't something obviously like the wildfires that could, natural disasters. I think this one just kind of put everyone on the thought like, hey, wait a second, like we got to take care of our city infrastructure. You take for granted, right? And living in a big city, you take for granted the services you have. You take for granted that when you turn on your tap, water is going to be there. And this week put that into doubt, right? Or you take for granted that, if there's a fire, the fire trucks can show up and put water on and everyone will be safe. Yeah, well, what if there's no water? And as Rob said, Rob is 911 dispatcher with Calgary, but he's also the fire chief in Redwood Meadows, and their fire tender, which is a tanker truck that holds enormous volume of water and can pull water from the rivers or reservoirs to put on fires. That's how they put out their fires out in the rural areas that don't have sort of a hydrant system. A lot of those are on loan to Calgary right now or on standby in case we need. And I was driving around today and I was at the shop where they do a lot of the work on trucks, and they were doing some work on some of the tenders that they pulled in from other neighborhoods just to be ready in case. So yeah, there you go. 2,500 gallons of water on a tender, and they have the capacity just to dump. What they do is they fill these big, huge inflatable tubs, and they dump the water, and then they run off to the nearest reservoir. They pump some more in, and they basically drive and dump all fire. That's how they do a lot of those fires. So pretty big event in Calgary. They said it'll be another, probably from this point, another 4 or 5 days before they repair the pipe. And then
they're saying 2 days to repair it, 2 days to flush it. And then like 3 more days or so to make sure it's safe, to bring it online and all that stuff. So folks, we're looking at another week here. So Daryl was asking if this was something that was scheduled for repair, and one of the reports that I heard is it's one of those things where these pipes have a predicted lifespan of 50 to 100 years. Well, which one is it? I'll tell you what, if they've been neglecting maintenance while increasing our taxes and putting in all these other useless programs that doesn't benefit the average Calgarian, then we're going to have a problem. But my understanding is that this is just something that you can't know. It's kind of hard to inspect an inside of a pipe when there's water running through it. But at some point, you're going to have a plan to get the water out of it to do an inspection. Because I'm sorry, after 50 to 100, 50 plus years of a pipe having that much water under that much pressure, things are going to go wrong at some point. You just don't know when.
Well, they did. And that was the result. And poor Bowness gets hammered. Hey, like they got hammered with the floods. They got hammered. But what a resilient community. You have to
Bonnesians are tough. Yeah.
If you ever come to Calgary, you got to visit Bowness. It's a little town, just it's kind of enveloped by the rest of the city. It is part of Calgary, but it is its own little town.
Forever it was its own town. And forever it was its own town. I mean, it's just been annexed in recent history. So, and super, super charming. But they got hit hard by the floods in 2013. They got hit obviously this week pretty hard. So when they're open for business, it's time to go down for a coffee or a burger down there at one of the little local establishments. They got some great spots there. Bowness and Montgomery both got hit. And, it affected the sports because those shoulder ice fields, those are closed down too. And that's what good thing. I mean, football's done. But it'll
It'll rebound.
You know what it didn't affect you though. In fact, though, is it didn't affect you going to the Stampeders game on what was that, Friday night?
Yeah, Friday night.
So how was that? Because I didn't end up making it down there. I ended up doing nachos and we did deep fried wings. We did it up right here with my boys at home. Although, I forget how long it takes to deep fry wings when you're doing them like 10, 12 at a time. So I spent like the first half of the game just cooking, right? But how was that? What was it like to get back in the stadium?
First of all, I'm glad you asked me that. I'm glad we didn't just jump into kind of the analysis of the game because, if we build back to having Jay McNeil at our event a few weeks ago and talking about, getting back to, when we talk about men's health and the things we enjoy doing, that live experience of a sporting event is really, it can be a part of that. Right. And, not that I stayed away, but again, my life is so busy with the kids and the things they do, especially in the fall, that I rarely get to games. Like I do the Labor Day games. I usually get to one or two other games, but I found it hard. And just because of the phase of life I'm in, but I really wanted to make a point. And as I mentioned, last Thursday was my birthday. The game was on Friday. And I wanted to make a point of getting out to that game on a nice summer night to see what it was like. And it was really neat because I brought my girlfriend, Brittany. I brought her two kids. I brought her daughter's best friend and two of my boys. Unfortunately, my one son, Kyle, who's hitting the Mario behind me.
He just absolutely got robbed on that last death. You can tell Kyle that that he was good. I think that was just cheating computer or something like that. But so how was that for you guys?
You know what? It was awesome. Sorry for
did you? So let me ask you this: did you guys show up for game time, or like go for dinner and then go to the game, or did you guys actually get out there on the grounds and tailgate for an hour?
You know what? We went out early, met my boys and my son's girlfriend at Harvey's in Brentwood. We all enjoyed a nice burger, and then we walked over, and that was nice. We parked the car, we walked over to the stadium, and it was nice. It was a beautiful evening. You walk over, and you just see, like, even if that place wasn't my home for 11 years, I still get the nostalgia of walking towards the stadium, seeing the big red pillars, seeing the horse appear, and then you start hearing the music, and you start seeing the barbecues and the people sitting down on the tailgates, and the atmosphere was perfect for a Friday night. It was absolutely perfect. There was people tailgating, there was music, there was kids playing football in the parking lot. They had a section right by the ticket office and souvenir shop or the stamp store where it was dedicated for kids. They had face painting games. They had a Tim Hortons stand where they're giving out free lemonades and coffees. It was such a great atmosphere. We didn't do all the tailgates and walk around, but there was.
But you felt it. You were there. You were out there, and you took the lap, and you felt it. Yeah, that's cool.
Felt it.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
We watched the game. And
no 50 Cent. No
50 Cent.
Okay.
They had a DJ. They had a live DJ. So Jay McNeil and co really trying to amplify that fan experience. And I thought they did a great job. And we didn't even tailgate with the barbecue and the alcohol, but just walking through, like, the kids had a great time just hanging out, taking pictures, seeing some of the stands. And then the game, the game was great. Live band. We sat in section X, which, me, I'm cheap, so I won't buy the best tickets. And I just want to see the game. Everything was great. And the neat thing they did, and I don't know if they stole a page from the Elks book that was doing it last year, but after the game, you can go on the field for a half hour. And this is the point I want to make. People were on the field, kids playing. My girlfriend's kids were doing their cartwheels. My girlfriend's son was throwing football. My boys were throwing football. And people all over were flooding the field to play. And the neat thing was this, and this is what I'm going to say about that experience. How was it? Obviously, I lived there. Obviously, I still appreciated it. And I was kind of observing people. There was two grown men right next to me. And one guy said, "Man, this is the greatest day of my life." And I thought that was cool because for some people, maybe that is the one game they get to. I don't know where they came from. Maybe they were in a part of Alberta that this was their first game ever. And the Stamps was the team they always want to go to. And to have that access to get on the field and just play football. They were playing football. These two men were playing football with a mini football, and they were pretending they were in the Grey Cup. And I don't know what their story was, but that moment for them was amazing. And that, to me, is what the CFL is. It's access. It's fun. It's inexpensive compared to some other sporting events.
Oh, for sure.
Like try to go to Edmonton right now for a playoff game and see what you're going to pay. You know what I mean? Like try to go to a Flames game, and they're not even like a playoff contender. And here we have this amazing experience. And again, I might be biased because I played, but I think I'm biased not because I played, but because I'm such a fan of it.
I've been out so long, Chev. I've been out of the game for so long now. Now it's the nostalgic factor for me. Like I wouldn't go down on that field and feel like, oh, I used to work here. You know, like and some of those thoughts, definitely memories come back to you for sure. But I think that would be a really cool tradition to take your kids onto the field after the game and just throw a ball around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Or the field you were just watching. And that's cool. Now,
the players come out and sign autographs too.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So the players are there signing autographs while people are on the field. The players come out, cheerleaders come out, people can go see the horse. Like really, really good environment for fans. They did a great job. And so that was the experience. The game was great too. Remember last week coming into this when we said that was, for me, that was my game of the week. It wasn't the two best teams, but it was the two quarterbacks that had a lot to prove. And I really enjoyed that game. I enjoyed the performance by the two quarterbacks. I thought the Stamps looked good. I thought the Tiger Cats looked good, and I thought the quarterbacks looked good. Sheldon, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and there's a comment earlier on about the receivers for the Stamps stepped up and playing with even a couple more injuries taking place. But for me, when I look at that game, and going into this week, we did a real thorough breakdown, our opinions on the two quarterbacks, where they're coming from in their careers, and my opinion has been firm on Jake Maier. I like the guy. I like his tools. He's got everything. When is he going to put it together? And you know what? I watched him Friday night, and I'm not ready to crown him as the next great Stampeders quarterback, but he was excellent. Everything he did was great. He even, what I wanted to hear is they're talking about how he spent the offseason getting more mobile, working on things. Oh, that's all I wanted to hear. Yes, he's not just in the moment wearing the jersey, I've got the jacket. He's working on picking up his game. And for a quarterback that had the real short end of the stick, with injuries to his receivers, he looked outstanding. He was dialed in. 26. He was moved. Yeah, he was what?
21 for 26.
Yeah, 20
great numbers. He didn't go down, like he didn't go super deep. Like his longest pass was 26 yards, but put in 252 yards, 2 touchdowns,
no interceptions.
Yeah, no interceptions. 0 interceptions and the win.
Yeah.
And now they were helped out. They were helped out by their kicker, Rene Paredes. If I'm not mistaken,
well, that's why you have a kicker. Yeah, he was 6 for 6. He landed that big, like 52 yards. I remember back in the day because I was boundary end on field goal team back with Sandro DeAngelis, and I think the longest kick I'd ever seen him kick was 54 yards, and it brought down the stadium. Yeah. Like that's a long kick, folks. Now 52 is routine for these good kickers. Yeah, he had an outstanding night. Yeah, and there's big concerns about that. They're not more effective moving the ball, but they didn't make many mistakes.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you this. What I just noticed, and again, you go through the game. We're not going to analyze, but Rene is 6 for 6. So that's 6 drives that end with a field goal. 2 drives end with a touchdown. Right. So that's 8 there. He didn't throw any picks. This was the impressive one. 3 punts for the Stampeders.
Wow.
And they had only 1 fumble. So there was 1 giveaway. So of all their drives, only 4 drives didn't end in some sort of points. That's huge. Yeah. That is huge. They controlled the clock, they controlled the play, and they look good. Everyone looked good. They look really sharp. And to be truthful, we both picked Hamilton in this game, if I'm not mistaken, right? We both picked Hamilton.
I thought, because how Jake Maier going to do it without Malik Henry.
Yeah. But the flip side was Bo Levi Mitchell. I was so curious to see how Bo came out.
Well, what'd you think?
Watching the game, it didn't look like he did much. Like I'll be truthful, and maybe I wasn't paying attention so much when the Tiger Cats offense was on. I was paying attention, but I noticed there was a couple of big drops. I thought he looked good. I thought there was a couple of throws that I was like, just a little off. And there was one pick. It was like, why are you throwing there, Bo? And I kind of had a bad impression, but when I went back and looked at the game, he actually played well. And I mean, he went 27 for 38, threw for 300 yards.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. One TD, one pick. But
and sometimes it's not the drop. It's not how many drops. It's when they come. Like the what was it? Tim White. Like it was like 40+ yard pass to the end zone. And it was within his grasp. And he's a guy that's reliable on those. And he just misjudged the ball. He put himself out of the play, out of the fingertips. He should have had it. But that touchdown right there would have changed the entire complexion of the game. Like for me, Bo Levi, he was off. He wasn't stellar. He wasn't Hall of Fame good. But he was good enough in the first half, even with a few bad throws. He looked dialed in. He moved well.
Yeah. Well, he ran for 39 yards or so, and he hasn't run in a while. And they talked about that, his mobility, and he was working out with, I think it's Marcellus Bowman, who's the Tiger Cats strength and conditioning coach. He's been working on his legs. So I'm happy to see Bo Levi Mitchell in a spot where he is the guy, and it's not in question. Now, it's
and for the sake of the league, Randy, to be honest with you, he has to be good.
Yes.
Because as I think the theme across the CFL is the league goes, the ratings go, the standings go, the ticket sales go as the quarterback does. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than watching a mediocre CFL team with a second or third string quarterback playing. We need Bo to be good.
We need Bo to be good. And you make a great point. It was a great weekend for quarterbacks in general. Go the day before. So go, moving on from the Stamps game, glad the Stamps got the win. I wasn't sure. I'm going to tell you, like we both picked against them, but going to the Montreal Winnipeg game.
Yeah. Here, let's actually take a break because I've got it right here in front of me from my notes from last week. So last week, our breakdown. So the first game was Montreal Winnipeg. Yeah. Right. Chevy picks, Montreal, nasty picks, Montreal. Just thinking, I wasn't sold that Montreal was going to be the real deal, but I thought they were going to come back with a chip on their shoulder, and I wanted to put a little faith in what Jason Moss did in that camp.
But you did say coming out, Winnipeg would probably be hungrier and more dialed in. And I kind of agreed with you on that. And I think we still had our little difference of opinion.
You know what, Chef? I might have miswrote in my notes. I might have picked Winnipeg last week.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you did, but
we'll have to rewatch it.
Check the tape. Check the tape. But the key thing is you mentioned that Winnipeg should be hungrier and dialed in. I remember hearing you say that. I think you picked Montreal though, but the game surprised me just how dialed in Montreal was and how not. I won't say Winnipeg wasn't dialed in. I just think Montreal was that dominant.
Yeah, Winnipeg's there's two Winnipegs. There's a Winnipeg that's kind of laissez-faire, not super motivated. They're going to be fine because they got talent all over the board. But Montreal came back, they look like that culture that they instilled midway through the season last year, or when we started seeing the benefits of it. They're coming back as an excited team, a quarterback dialed in. They're fighting for each other. Defense looks good, and offense is clicking. Like they are the real deal. Whatever Jason Moss is doing there is something that I think the rest of the league has to take a look at and say, is this the next wave of how to get a bunch of misfits to play together?
Is this the next big team? Like, are they the one? Like, I wasn't sure going into the game. I thought, you know what, it'd be good. I'm picking Montreal because they won the Grey Cup. I believe in them but they didn't just win the game. They didn't do what the Stampeders did. Stampeders won that game, but it was.
James says I picked Montreal. He would know. He's like Mr. Bomber. So
but I tell you, like, they were dominant. In fact, we talk about how the league needs a great Bo Levi Mitchell or a good Bo Levi Mitchell and how all the quarterbacks played well. To tell you the truth, the quarterback that was kind of the worst of the starting quarterbacks last weekend was Zach Collaros, and he's typically the best quarterback in the league. Now it's week one.
Yeah, and he didn't play at all in training. Winnipeg, because Winnipeg used to be Montreal, right? When O'Shea came in there, he built that culture. He put together that coaching staff. And they started dominating, and they've been dominating ever since. Right
now, we're not crowning a Grey Cup champ now.
No, but absolutely not.
But Montreal flying out against one of the top teams in the league in the East. They look good. Listen, it's the Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Keep the comments coming, guys. We love having you here. Rubio keeps texting me, remind me, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media at Chevy and Nasty. We always put on some clips after the show. We use a fantastic AI software. We're not ashamed to admit it because we're a two-man show.
You don't pick those yourself?
No, I don't have time. But we get the clips out, and there's some really good bites sometimes that come out, and we like to share those with you, and you can get little snippets of the show. In fact, that's kind of how I go through the show. I don't rewatch the show. I don't have time and to see what we did. But a lot of the clips that come out are really good, and we try and share those with you. So at Chevy and Nasty, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you call it. But I thought Montreal was impressive. I think Winnipeg's going to bounce back. They're going to play next week against Ottawa, but Saskatchewan, Edmonton.
So going into that game, right? So that's the same thing. So Chev, you picked the Elk. You thought that they'd made enough improvements, which I couldn't understand what improvements you're talking about. I guess Bethel Thompson is an improvement. Well, but they haven't done anything for years. Versus the Riders. I picked the Riders. You picked the Elks. Turns out it was another fantastic game with great performances by the quarterbacks.
Yes, 100%. I watched that one as well, and I was impressed. The reason I picked the Elks is because they had the stability of the coaching staff. Saskatchewan coming in with a brand new coaching staff. What were they going to be? Trevor Harris coming back from an injury. How much rust did he have on him? And then, the only major change that Edmonton made was the upgrade at quarterback. And last year they were winning some games with Trey Ford, Canadian quarterback, unbelievable running ability.
Those were weird wins, but they were finding a way to win.
They were finding a way to win.
Enough fight in them.
And now they had a quarterback. Now remember, McLeod Bethel Thompson is the quarterback that brought Toronto to the Grey Cup 2 years ago before he went down to the USFL. And he got hurt in the Grey Cup, and Chad Kelly came in and won them that game. But McLeod Bethel Thompson is no laughing matter, and he had a great game. 33 for 42, 336 yards.
I think that's the second most yards that we saw, or that might have been topped this week. I can't remember what Vernon Adams put up, but it was a really strong performance. But watching him, so when I watched him in Toronto, I always just thought he was kind of a vanilla, boring guy. He had control of that team. He had control of that huddle. I think the UFL did some good for him the last season or so. I still think it's weird that he went down there because of his wife's job and all of these things, and that he's back so soon.
Well, he was trying to take a shot at the NFL, right? Like he wanted a crack.
I guess, But he looked really good, and I was very pleased to see the job that Corey Mace's defense did. Offense is clicking. You know what got me a little bit though? AJ Ouellette. I was so excited to see what the Riders would do with him. He ended up 40 yards on 18 carries, 2.2 yards a carry. When have you ever seen that? I know he gets some of those tough yards in the second and shorts and things like that. But if there's one thing that I want to see from the Riders, now they've stretched it out a little bit. He's connecting with his receivers. You cannot waste AJ Ouellette. You've got to find a way to get him into your game. And he had like a 20-yard reception at one point, which is awesome. They got to find a way to get him
run game. You know what? Hamilton established a run game. Although they lost the game against Calgary, Hamilton established their running back had 119 yards. That's what you need. Yeah. You need that. Look, he's a great running back. They're going to figure it out. But what they did do is they managed to win. Those takeaways, the 2 fumble recoveries were huge because that game, was a 2-possession game at the end, 1-possession game. 29-21 it ended. So that was a huge win for the Riders, for the rookie head coach, Corey Mace, buddy of mine, old teammate. Glad to see Mace win. But again, exciting football. You talk then on Sunday, we had that big game between Toronto and BC. And for me, I picked BC, Vernon Adams. I thought he was going to do great. The problem is he got sacked a million times. Yeah. He still threw for a bunch of yards. Like Vernon Adams was the top QB of the week, 25 for 33. What did he throw for? 363 yards.
Yeah.
2 TDs, interception, but he got sacked. I think it was like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah. He was sacked 7 times. And he also had a fumble and he got stuffed once.
Yeah.
But again, that's the same thing, though. I'm not writing off BC. BC is going to be awesome this year.
Yeah. Well, they're playing this week against Calgary.
But, for me, the story of that game, Cameron Dukes. I don't even remember him from last year. I know he stepped in, played, had a couple of starts late in the year, won one of them.
Well, and he gets his opportunity because of what happened with Chad
huge
Kelly.
Opportunity. But
Chad
I mean,
Kelly,
for both of us, we both picked BC last week because there's no way Toronto can compete with Vernon Adams without Chad Kelly, and he's going to be gone for some time. But Cameron Dukes, the way the CFL works, if he strings together a couple more of these games, I'm not saying he's going to, but he looked really, really solid. Again, he didn't break 300 yards, but he didn't make mistakes.
He had a Jake Mayer game. In fact, so close. He was 21 for 27, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's
zero interceptions is all I got to hear. Like, for a young guy. Yeah.
Protect the football. No, I thought it was a great weekend of CFL football. It was neat to be dialed in. I love the game. Rubio asked a question. If you had a magic wand, would you choose to be a Canadian NHL player or an American NFL player? Oof, that's a tough one. I love football, but I mean, I grew up. If I had a magic wand, I grew up loving hockey. I used to pray every night that I would play for the Montreal Canadiens. If I went back to my, 10-year-old self that was saying my prayers every night, I got to say I would have been a hockey player. But I love the career that I did have. I got to play in the NFL. I got to play in the CFL. Did not play in the NHL, but I think, playing in the NHL.
You're close though, right? You're close.
That was close. That was close. I think
you went to some games. And I think for me, from the time that I discovered football and really from the time I saw Mike Singletary's intensity on Soldier Field as a middle linebacker back in the 80s, I think for me it was I loved hockey. I just never saw myself as a hockey player, right? Yeah. I always saw myself as playing football. So I think my dream would have been, and it would probably continue to be, play in the NFL. But again, I go back to the NHL, like Stanley Cup playoffs is just nostalgia for me, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I love it. It doesn't mean I see myself as a hockey player, or even wanting to do that grind of an 84 game schedule. But
I still play a lot of ball hockey, but I love hockey. I love football. It'd be a hard choice for me, but if you say Canadian hockey player, American NFL player, gosh, I think the hockey for me. Sheldon, let's wrap up the CFL talk. We're going into week 2. We got a couple of big matchups. Winnipeg at Ottawa. Let's make some quick picks. We don't have to break it down too much. I think it's a bounce back game for Winnipeg.
100%.
Ottawa's coming off the bat.
I got Winnipeg. Yeah.
Ottawa still has a bit to prove. New coaching staff, new.
They don't have a quarterback, and I don't think they have a quarterback. That's Winnipeg.
You're writing it down?
I would be very surprised if Ottawa was able to do something this early in the season.
Okay, Montreal at
Edmonton.
What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? It's in Edmonton. Edmonton's going to be hungry. But I'm going to have to go back, and you've convinced me. What Montreal is doing right now is for real. They won in Winnipeg. I think they're going to continue this on. I think they're going to be scary this year if they can keep this going. So I am going to call Montreal.
I'm going to say Montreal as well. Calgary at BC. They got the 50 Cent concert an hour before the show. Can BC stay focused? Calgary's got the win.
I got BC.
You going BC?
Yeah, I got BC. I can't see Vernon Adams losing 2 weeks in a row. They got I know there's a lot of pressure on them, but they're gearing up. That game is the one on their calendar. These guys are going to be ready to go.
My gut's saying BC as well. But that those sacks against Vernon Adams, that's an exposed. That's an exposure thing, right? Like I don't know. I'm gonna pick BC. BC.
There you go. Okay.
I'm gonna pick BC.
All right. Let's see if we can. Oh no. This is gonna be. I think we're making all the same picks.
Saskatchewan
at Hamilton.
Who you got?
Riders.
I'm picking Hamilton. I think this is the week that Bo gets his win. It's been a while, long time coming. I think he knocked the rust off last week. I think this week is where the old Bo shows up, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a game. So that's the one that's our game. That's the one where we figure it out. Now, the last thing before we wrap up CFL talk, I don't know if you caught it, but I guess last week there was a bit of controversy. A couple of the kickers, Castillo from Winnipeg, started on Thursday. I think it's Luis Castillo, the kicker for Winnipeg. Is that his name? Does that sound right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Well, I guess he got on Twitter, X, all whatever that is, talking about footballs. As people know, he missed an extra point that could have cost him the game. I think it was.
I think he missed a few extra points or a couple extra points that game.
Yeah, he missed a couple of points, and it turns out that the CFL is experimenting with these chips in the ball that have a tracker in them. And this tracker, I don't know what it's supposed to track. It might be tracking distance and, to give advanced stats to get the fans more in the game and those sorts of things. And yeah, it appears that this microchip is affecting, the kicks, the quality of the kicks. Apparently it doesn't affect the punts because they spiral, and it doesn't affect the quarterbacks throwing because it's a spiral, but I guess the end over end action of the kicks. Yeah, Sergio Castillo. Thanks, Jamin. Sergio Castillo was complaining on Twitter, but again, I looked at the tweet. Yeah, there's a microchip. Yeah, it's there. But gosh,
you know what that sounds like to me, Chevy?
An excuse.
It sounds like a kicker.
Yeah.
Come on. Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I've changed helmets, I've changed face masks, I've gone gloves, I've gone no gloves, I've gone taped fingers, I've gone spat, I've gone non-spat. Now, spat, I never like the spat. There are certain things you can do that will affect dynamics and how you play. But okay, so we're not talking about the ball getting wrapped in tape. Yeah. We're talking about a microchip that Rene Paredes had in his ball, because they give him a choice, right?
Yeah,
they give him a choice.
Well,
you
now
take a look at a guy like Rene
yeah.
Paredes that says, I don't care, just give me anything, right?
Yeah.
I'll kick it. What's he do? 6 for 6. What's Winnipeg guy? He's tweeting about it. It's in his head.
Well, he went 1 for 3. Do you think he's tweeting about it? If he does, and I think he missed an extra, a crucial extra point as well. Yeah, he went 1 for 3. You think he's tweeting about it after? Probably not. But it does seem like there is an issue, because all the kickers in the league are comparing it or were complaining. I think they voted.
You're saying kickers again. Here's the test, and here's what you have to do. You could settle this week in practice. Here's give me 10 kicks. Right? 2 of them will have the microchip, or you go 50-50, right? Yeah. Tell me at the end of them which one had it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that can even have an impact on the physics? Like, where's it stitched into?
It may. I don't know where it is, but you know what? Rene was 6 for 6 with a 52-yarder. I don't know if there was a chip in his ball or not, but
James says, and one of them was a 17-yarder. Sorry to cut you off, Chef, but the chip did not affect the 17-yard kick. That's right here.
You know what, Sheldon? It reminds me of a story. When I was in Barcelona, I played with the Barcelona Dragons in 2002. And we had a certain allotment of European players. And one of our players, he was a kicker. And they always brought in an American kicker to handle the long kicks. And then the European would handle the short kicks. It was kind of like, it was a development thing. But the guy we had as the European kicker, his name was Jesus Angoy. And Jesus Angoy was the backup, or one of the goaltenders, for the FC Barcelona team for a number of years. Oh, wow. Throughout the 90s. He was married to famous soccer players. If anyone listens like soccer here, Johan Cruyff, one of the greatest soccer players in the world around the Pele time, I believe. And Jesus was a very successful businessman in Barcelona, but he was also a kicker. And he was, at the time, I believe he was one of the number one kickers in NFL Europe. In fact, he was so good that he handled all our kicks. He handled
like
our long
kicks and
our short kicks, because he was just that good. And he had been invited to the Denver Broncos training camp, I believe it was a year earlier. And he was going to make the Denver Broncos. And that year they were going to Australia for a preseason game. And he walked into Coach Mike Shanahan's office, and he didn't speak much English. He goes, Coach, tomorrow you team go Australia, me Barcelona. It's no problem. And Mike Shanahan is looking at him like,
it's no problem.
What do you mean?
It might be a problem.
He's like, no, coach, no problem. You go Australia, me Barcelona. And they brought in translators, and he's like, no, he's good. You go, me Barcelona. He didn't want to play in the NFL. He was happy enough to go to his little NFL Europe gig, come back, be a local hero. The point of the matter,
he didn't want to go to Australia. Like, he wanted to take.
No, he didn't want to play. He just didn't want
to play.
He just didn't want to play. He had a construction business that he was running. He was just an NFL Europe kicker that got invited to NFL camp, and he was going to make the team.
What year was this?
It was a few years before me. And they had Jason Elam, but I think Jason Elam got hurt. The point of the matter is this. I go to Barcelona, and kickers are kind of a sort of a quirky bunch. And Rubio can pipe in. Rubio could pipe in because, when his long snappers deal with kickers, they want the laces a quarter turn this way. They want the ball tilted this way, that way. And I remember, like, our American kicker, great guy, he had the system the way he wanted the ball, the tilt, the laces, blah, 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 blah. I asked Jesus, I was like, Jesus, where do you want the ball? How do you want it? And he's like, it's no problem. You put, I kick. I'm like, yeah, but the laces. No, it's easy. Put, I kick. Put kick. He had none of the.
That sounds Russian now, by the way. But I love that approach. I love that approach, though, right? Like,
but he had he had none of the what do they call it? The institutional boundaries that kickers might put on themselves from a very young age. It's like, oh no, the ball's got to be perfect, otherwise you can't kick it. The laces got to be out, Finkel, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's a soccer player that played years and years in the Premier League with immense pressure of being a goaltender, and kicking a ball was like flushing the toilet for him.
You put I kick.
Yeah, because kicking the ball is a secondary action to what his job was forever. Just kick the damn ball. Exactly, Rubio.
But Rubio says, stop talking about the damn kickers. Let's talk about the long snappers. That's the problem, Rubio. Long snappers aren't complaining about the chip. Do you know why? Because they're football players. They wear gloves. They don't wear gloves. They spat. They tape their ankles. They change their helmets. They change their face masks. They play in the rain. They go short sleeves. They go long sleeves. It doesn't matter. You need to perform. And those little things that you let them get in your head, I just can't believe that a chip would impact the ball half as much as it would impact the guy's brain. Like you said, Lionel, what's the name of your kicker?
Jesus Angoy.
You put I kick.
Yeah.
Everybody shut up and just celebrate when it goes.
That's through, right. And I had the honor of working with Rene, who's going to go down in the Hall of Fame as probably the greatest kicker in the history of the Stampeders. I was there from day one when we worked him out on the actual birth date of my son. I had to come from the hospital to snap 100 balls on the day that we were auditioning kickers because our kicker had gotten hurt, and that's where I met Rene.
That's big talk when you said you'd skip a game for the birth of your child, but you would have been back in the locker room for halftime, is what you're saying.
Well, no. Kyle was born, and I had to come in the next morning. He was born in the middle of the night. I had to come in the next morning to work out 5 kickers, and Rene was one of them. I got to play a number of years with him from the time I dubbed him the Matador to the cool cucumber he is now, going to the Hall of Fame. That stuff doesn't affect him. He just goes out and he does his job. And if he misses a kick, if he misses 2 kicks, his head doesn't get unwound. He just goes back to work. And that was a great thing about the great players I've played with. Some of the guys that I've been through in my time, absolute head cases. I remember when Duncan O'Mahony. Remember Duncan?
Oh yeah. Yes. We talk about mental health, and I still remember when he didn't make it to camp and nobody knew where he was. I mean, it takes a special breed to be a goaltender or a kicker, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen some real successful ones, and I've seen some guys that have struggled, and I've never been either. So I can't say. I will say though that the less time you spend letting that chip get inside your head and just keep it in the ball, and then just keep it between the goalposts.
It was the same thing when they rubberized the laces, right? Same thing. Totally, it's so different. It's so different. And next thing you know, it's part of the way it is. So I think they're going to go away from it for now because the kickers were raising a stink, but they want chips in the footballs because it gives advanced stats. I guess
I don't even know what stats it's going to give.
Well, it improves the fan experience somehow, and they'll figure that out. If it's good for the game, they'll keep it. If it's bad for the game,
all right. Well, speaking of good for the game, I'm pretty excited here. I think you've seen Craig Hannum's joined us here late in the show tonight. Yeah. We're going to have Craig Hannum coming down to Calgary Stampede. Craig Hannum. Yeah. You're welcome, man. You're going to love it. For those of you, Rubio, I doubt you've had your first Stampede experience yet. You guys got to get up here that first week of July and see what kind of a party that Calgary can throw. It's an amazing event.
Just a party. We talk about food. Rubio hating poutine. Oh. Calgary Stampede is famous for good food.
Oh,
but it's famous for weird food too. Like every year they have some weird, like scorpion, mesquite barbecue scorpion tails and all the weirdest stuff. I'll never touch that with a 10-foot pole. If you think you don't like poutine, some of the stuff they unveil for Stampede is just
that's not exactly a reigning endorsement of why Rubio should come to Calgary. And,
no, but I'm saying we talk about food, but when I thought that Stampede every year they introduce some weird food, but Stampede is going to be an awesome time. It's such a good thing. Craig Hannon building a resilience program through rodeo athletes. I can only assume that was through the connection we made with our good buddy Daryl McAvina. And again, talking about Daryl, we wouldn't do what we do without our good friends at Performance Freight Management, which is Daryl's company, and put on the event that we put on and the future events and make these awesome connections. So I'm really happy we got to go through the CFL, talk about last week, talk about the upcoming games. We talked about the chip in the football and how kickers just kick the ball. Don't complain. A couple of news items came up this week. Joey Chestnut. He's being excluded from the World Eating Competition because he's decided to pair with a vegan hot dog brand. You got anything to say about that?
No, that's why you do these things, right? You get yourself famous for your quirky things. Just so the fact you get the payoff one day, and this is probably a good deal for him. And it's probably bringing some publicity for the eating competition. I don't know. Maybe they're petty. I don't know. Tobiyashi just retired anyway. Maybe it's time to start opening up room for the next generation of great eaters.
Well, for me, this seems like the league wants control of all the sponsorships. And it's like, if the National Eating Competition is sponsored by Nathan's Hot Dogs and, they've been doing it forever. And Joey Chestnut's won, I believe, 17 or 16 out of 17 competitions in the last 17 years. Like he's been the man. I even watched the documentary that they had on Netflix between Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi. But, they can't interfere with this guy's right to earn a living. I mean, you got NHL guys that, the NHL, for instance, their official sponsor might be Gatorade, but a guy like Connor McDavid, his sponsorship is with BioSteel. They got to figure a way around it because, Joey Chestnut is bringing a lot of publicity, not only to the eating competition, but he just put a huge dollar value on the price of those vegan hot dogs. Now, I'm not going to eat them. That's not something that's for me. If I want a hot dog, I want an all beef wiener. But there's going to be some people that didn't know that they had an option for gluten-free, vegan, whatever hot dogs. And because of Joey Chestnut,
hold on, just because it's vegan doesn't make it gluten-free.
Well, I don't know.
And they're two totally different things, Chef.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know which ones they are.
It all comes down to money and sponsorship. And
would you eat a gluten-free vegan hot dog?
Yeah, I was Mr. Tube Steak. We had an amazing veggie dog option. It was one of my favorite things we served. I'm not saying it was healthy or by any means. It's all processed stuff to turn it the color of a hot dog and taste a certain way. But it was delicious. And I have no problem with going with veggie for flavor because a lot of them can be delicious. It's not my go-to.
Could you eat a hot dog without the condiments? Like
no. Hot dogs are all about the condiments.
Yeah, a hot dog is a condiment delivery device, right?
Yeah.
Like it's relish, mustard, and ketchup.
No. You can get a mayo or an aioli, like a garlic aioli, mix in some hot sauce with it or whatever seasoning you want. We do. We make our own caramelized onions. And then it's got to be the cheese. I just go American cheese, like processed sliced cheese. And then
too much.
And then, but that's the thing though. It's like poutine. It's a delivery device for now. The other night, so we did burgers this weekend, but we had leftover Ukrainian garlic sausage, which is kind of like a wiener, right? Except it's a sausage. But you can even turn that into a condiment. You can butterfly a wiener, throw it on top of your burger, and you know what? It's a condiment. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not a purist for hot dogs.
You got a lot of stuff going on. For me, a hot dog is mustard, relish, and ketchup. And if it has no relish, then I'm having a hard time. Really? Rubio asked the question. He says, the question is this: is the hot dog eating contest bigger than Joey Chestnut? Is Joey Chestnut bigger than the hot dog eating contest? I think this is my thought, Rubio. It's like when you've got a UFC fighter at the top of his game, kind of like Conor McGregor. right? When Conor McGregor was at the top of his game, sure, the UFC is going to exist a lot further and a lot beyond Conor McGregor's fame. But at that moment, he is the top draw. He is the star of the show. And if he leaves, everyone knows it. So when Conor McGregor left the UFC for a bit because he wanted more money, he changed the game because they were forced to deal. And I think that's what Joey Chestnut is. He's a top performing athlete. 76 hot dogs. You can't match that. He's the top of the sport. And if he goes, that competition goes.
Like Kobayashi, he could never eat another hot dog again, and it won't hurt him financially.
Right.
He's already accomplished. He's Wayne Gretzky. Michael Jordan doesn't have to come back one more time or try.
But that's what I'm saying.
Try a new sports like I don't know, water polo to prove that he was really a great athlete. He's already proved what he could, and now it's just about signing the endorsement deals.
But listen, but that was the question. He is bigger than the sport right now. If he leaves, if they don't get him on July 4th, the 4th of July, the biggest event in the United States on Coney Island, the national eating competition, if Joey Chestnut's not there, whoever wins, there's going to be an asterisk. They're going to be like, yeah, but until Joey Chestnut loses, they have to have him in the competition, even if it costs them because he went to, and he's repped by a vegan hot dog brand. He has to. They have to have him, or they lose the integrity of their game. They can't be. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm also with Craig Hannum here, Randy. That's like calling the world's poker a sport, dude. And yeah, it's not a sport. It's a competition. But competition is competition. And
hey, listen,
I
won.
You know what? Chef, I'll tell you what. I got a plane. I got 2 hours of editing to go. I gotta work for my day job, and then tomorrow I get to step on a plane with my good buddy Cozy. We're flying off. We're flying off to we land in Victoria.
Yeah.
Another good buddy's picking us up in Duncan. We got to make our way to Duncan, and then we're heading to this neat little surfing town called Bamfield. Now, it's said there's now a highway connecting it from Nanaimo all the way out to Bamfield. It's going to be the new Tofino. He's got a little resort there. He wants to take us around. We're going deep sea fishing. We're going to get out there, sit on the beach a little bit. I'm going to unwind. After the last couple of months that I've had, I think I'm really, really looking forward to this. So, guys, I'll tell you what, I can't believe you guys stayed on with us. So we've gone almost an hour 20 tonight, Chef.
Awesome,
guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And as Rubio keeps reminding us, guys, if you can find it in your day and you see something come up, share it, spread the word. We would love to keep growing this community because we couldn't do it without you guys. We wouldn't want to do it without you guys.
And send us some topic ideas. I'm really looking forward to hearing about your week next week. I want to set aside some time so you can tell us about what it was like, because when we talk about men's health, we talk about men's issues, going out and unwinding is part of it. I want to know what you did. So next week, we're going to talk about your adventure. We're going to talk more CFL. Hopefully the Oilers have a rebound, and hopefully all of you are back here on the ride with us. The Ride with Chevy Nasty. We do it every week. Thanks to Performance Freight Management. We drone. Sheldon, I appreciate you being here with me. I'm so happy you're getting away to unwind. And again, enjoy, relax, and come back recharged. And we want to hear all about it. So thank you guys for joining us. Great night here on the Ride.